AVS Media
Tower,
Channel.
Papa Hotel Lima Echo November radio check.
Welcome to episode 1 of Side 2. I'm your host, Speech of Anthony, and this week on Side 2, or this episode on Side 2, I haven't really decided yet. As I may have mentioned before, I work full time, I'm a full time husband, and a full time dad, and in fact, I'm standing here all damp from bathing my son. So, yeah, we're a professional setup here. Anyway, today's episode, we have a couple of records. I sent out teaser pictures. I don't know whether they're too obscure, sorry if they were, but they have two things in common. One, they both cost less than 30 pence to buy. Yay me and my hunting. We'll talk about where I go for my hunts and what I tend to look for in a later episode. The second thing they have in common is that they both come under what I would call hidden gems. They offer something that I wasn't expecting. Now, one of the records, I knew one of the songs, right? It's kind of a cheat. But that song wasn't a hidden gem. It was actually the B-side of that particular record that was a hidden gem. I knew nothing of it until I put it on and I thought, wow. Absolutely wow. And I thought, yeah, this should, in a way, that should have been the A-side. Don't get me wrong, the A-side of that particular record, for Scottish people, it's a cultural classic. And if you haven't heard it already, the links in the description will be links to both the records. Okay, and for watching videos on YouTube, or if you want to go find out more about them. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time talking about the history of these records, because that's what Google's for. And I may have mentioned before, I don't have a lot of time, so we're going to just crack right on. Okay, so what we're going to try and do here is a bit of magic. I'm going to snap my fingers, and down on the bottom of the screen here, the name of the album's going to appear with a picture. 3, 2, 1. Well, if that didn't work, I'm going to show you. I haven't done post editing yet, so it probably will appear. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. First record is an LP by a band from Liverpool, who unfortunately this was their only solo album. The band is called Two-Way Street, and the album's called Grow Your Own Planet. Now, this album, the selection criteria personally for this album, I have to admit, was just leaf. I knew nothing else about it. I was sitting on the floor of a charity shop and I flicked through it and I thought, that's pretty cool. And so I picked it up. It cost me 29 pence. Exactly 29 pence. The disc is in absolutely mint condition. There's hardly a mark on the sleeve, a little bit of wear and tear, but you know, tiny little bit. So I took it home. I cleaned it up and I put it on, and instantly I was hooked. I stood there and I listened to the entire album without moving from a spot. I had it on in the kitchen. I did not move from a spot. I had a cup of tea, it went cold. I had a cup of coffee right after it and it went cold too. And it would just took me right in. It takes you back to the time in the late 80s, early 90s, where the old traditional northern manufacturing powerhouse around Liverpool was dying. You know, like a lot of places in Scotland and northern England where factories and shipyards were closing down. That's the era that takes you right into it. Songs like Mr. Big Shot, when it's talking about a chap that's worked in a factory all his life and then one day he finds out the factory's closing. You know, and now he's having to adapt to new circumstances and new ways of working that he's just not used to because he's grown up in that environment. This Bloody England, which talks a lot about how people struggle to understand how the world is developing around them. You know, and you sit and you listen to the lyrics and you'll realise that for a generation of people, the last 10 years, 15 years have been, like a rocket ship, absolutely a light speed, break speed for a generation of people that have been used to working in a particular way. And even songs like the much slower Down the River, it's almost like echoes of people's faith in themselves and others, especially in terms of their personal life and professional life, where they're willing to accept that they're going to get shortchanged, they're going to get lied to. And it's quite sad. Yeah, it's quite sad to hear that from people. But it takes you in. The positioning on the album is really quite good for these songs. The first two songs on both sides are quite strong, and so it takes you in. But what I did notice listening to it was the following songs on both sides kind of petered off, which was a bit of a shame, and might explain why this record was their only published deal. Apparently they had another album's worth of material that they wanted to put out, but they were dropped from the label. The other songs kind of melted into the same kind of sound. After the first couple, you could listen to the remaining 2 or 3 songs on each side, and you couldn't really tell the difference. It just sounded like one kind of sound, a similar kind of output. But those 3 songs, Big Shot, Down the River, and This Bloody England, cracking songs, and would so fresh in the mind. They'd be valid even now. With things are still changing. And a re-release for this album, it could be a big hit. So if you've got time, give it a listen. The second record that I've got for you this episode is an EP. I've already alluded to it, but this one's from 30 years earlier, 31 years earlier actually, get the 1 year right, 31 years earlier. Yeah, I think the picture says it best. Yeah. Culture icon. This is Scottish music at its best. Absolute best. And yeah, Donald Where's Your Trousers. Oh, well, we were brought up in Donald Where's Your Trousers, the proper Scots, but Donald Where's Your Trousers is really a light-hearted tale of a Scotsman who travels around Britain wearing a kilt and people who react to him wearing a kilt and not trousers. You think it's a fairly simple concept, but unless you're Scottish, living in Britain, it's, you can't really appreciate it. So anyone else living in other countries, you might think, what's the problem? It's not really a problem, but it shows the class of cultures and the different social classes in the UK. And it's the best part, one of the best parts of the song, is halfway through, the singer acknowledges that the song would perhaps be better received if it was sung in a different way. And so, he stops the song and starts singing it like Elvis Presley would sing it. I kid you not. I will include the link in the description, and if I can find it that includes the Elvis version, please listen to it. It is hilarious. Absolutely. You don't see it on any other kind of music these days. It's so polished and refined. This is you can just imagine sitting at a concert, having a gay old time back in the 60s, and just listening to this, and it's just absolutely, there's no words but. The hidden gem on this record is actually the B-side, and it's called Scottish Soldier, and it couldn't be more different. And again, it's historical in its content. It's a war, as you can imagine, it's a war song. But unlike the war song, it's not overly gory. But it takes you very deep into what Scottish soldiers and soldiers around the world would not only see but feel. I think that's where it concentrates on. It concentrates on the feeling, what they see through their eyes, and the loneliness and the feeling of homesickness that people feel. Lines like, there's a line in it where it talks about these rolling hills of green are not my Highland hills. And when it talks about the main character, and he says he is at rest now, far from his rolling hills, his Highland hills. And it's lines like that, when you listen to it, obviously now we're 56 years removed from when this came out, but you still think, even if you haven't been in the army like myself, I haven't been in the army or any armed forces, but you think, wow, the sacrifice of being away from home is bad enough. Being away from home where you could, suffer some kind of harm or death, making the ultimate sacrifice. I have a newfound respect for these people. I may not always agree with the reasons for going to war, but I absolutely 100% support these brave men and women who go out there to do a job that can only be classed as the toughest job, with almost the minimum level of respect and gratitude shown at times. And I urge you, this record cost me 25 pence. 4 pence cheaper than the album, but in a way, the content of it is worth so much more. Absolutely so much more. So I would ask you, check out the description and the links I put in there. You probably won't be sorry. So that's the 2 records I have this week. I'm hoping going forward, I don't have a plan. Right? I don't plan things. I'm a planner at my place of work. I don't plan things at home that well. So I'm hoping hopefully get 2 videos out a week. If I'm doing that, I'm doing pretty well, because I still have to edit them down and cut them down, stick them all together. All these bits where I've made a lot of mistakes and stumbled over my words, mispronounced things, had to go check my notes, and generally things that prove that I shouldn't really be doing YouTube videos. Once I've done all that, that can take enough time. But every video, I'm going to take a couple of records from my collection, group them by a particular category, and just do what it is here. Just have a chat about them. So feel free to like, share, subscribe, as they always say, or put a comment in. Tell me, what do you think? Good, bad, boring, not your stuff? Fair enough. We're going to be open here in this series. I'm not trying to tell people to buy stuff, mainly because you probably can't buy this stuff anymore. Unless you buy it on eBay, it's not on general release anymore. So next time, what we're going to do, we're either going to have the category of first time listening, whereas 2 records where I've listened to them for the very first time, having bought them and put them away, and we've covered those ones. Or we're going to cover a category called just fresh. I'm looking over there because I have a pile of records and I'm trying to remember how I've grouped them. Trying to remember. Struggling to remember. The other category is just fresh, or still fresh. Yeah, still fresh. Where, they're older records from the 70s and 80s, where when you listen to them, and I've honestly thought, that could still be a hit today, with no changes, no rewording, no re-singing, no repackaging. Just put it out there and it would be a hit. So, I haven't decided yet. Depends how I feel. You have one episode, one the next. How long will the series go on for? As long as I have the time to do them, and as long as vinyl's still readily available. And judging by the local availability, it's not running out anytime soon, and judging by what I've seen of international availability, I could be here for quite some time. So, I've been Speech of Anthony. Like I said, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.
AVS Media
Tower,
Demo.
Papa Hotel Lima Echo November radio check.